Isn't today. Feels more like Southern California. Really not a whole lot to add outside of, I just continue to be impressed with our guys, energy and willingness to come ready to work. In the midst of finals on a Saturday morning, our team meeting was at 7 a.m. and they were fired up, ready to go. It's a unique group. I think all in all, a couple things of note today. Chenna Nwosu rolled an ankle. And Antoine Woods strained a pec. So those are only the two real, updates that way. We still had a couple guys that were, working for finals and final papers. We got guys taking finals all weekend long. So it's a pretty intense time for them, but I think it's a good getaway for them to get out on the field and play football for a couple hours.
Does Antoine's thing seem minor, not the kind of thing that would linger for a couple weeks, or you don't know yet?
I wouldn't imagine, but I don't know yet. I wouldn't imagine.
It seems like Josh Shaw has been sharper the last couple days. Maybe the rust is finally fallen off. Or have you noticed him playing any better?
I'm noticing him, and we're going at times. There's a real point of emphasis to really challenge him, I guess, if for lack of better terms. We're trying to ramp him up. We're trying to ramp up our corner play in general. If you notice today, there was a lot of one-on-one deep balls getting thrown, and that's for us offensively, but it's also for us defensively. Just trying to improve that aspect of our game. Josh, being a corner, is going to get a lot of that work and played it pretty well. I think Josh is in a good frame of mind. I think he's enjoying playing football. It's something he didn't get to do for 3 months, and now he's got a chance to do it, and he's enjoying every opportunity he gets when he comes out.
SC only played against Marcus Mariota once, but you had the experience of doing it a couple times. Are you going to be surprised if he wins the Heisman?
No, not at all. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Marcus is a fantastic player. He's got a great demeanor about him. I don't know if you guys have seen him. You guys have seen him up in person once, I believe, but he's a very calm customer. He's very level-headed. He's an extremely accurate passer and understands their system. And he's the fastest player on the field every snap. And when you put all that together, when their design runs for him, he's tough to stop. But when he got us a couple years ago, and we had a good team, and we were playing him really well, and it's 3rd and long, and we're spying him with Shaq Thompson, and Shaq can't catch him. We knew it was going to be a long day, and that's what happened. There was about 3 or 4 3rd and 10 pluses where he scrambles to get first downs to extend drive. So he just makes it really, really hard. When he throws it on time and to the right people and accurately. When their design runs for him, it's hard to stop. And then when you do everything right, he pulls it down and runs it, he can beat you too. So it's a unique challenge. I'm happy for Marcus. I'm happy for everything he's getting. He's a really good person. I recruited him hard coming out of high school, and that kid deserves everything he gets.
When you were coaching against Leonard Williams, how much of your offensive game plan was to stop him basically and deal with him?
I really only coached against Leonard 1 year. It was his true freshman year. Right. And it was kind of relatively early in the season, I believe. I think it was maybe halfway through, so he was a little bit of a novelty. It was like, who is 94, right? Who's this guy that people are having a hard time blocking? But the rest of that defense was pretty good too at that time. And you're talking T.J. McDonald, George Uko was there, JR was playing really well at that time. Nikel Roby. They had a lot of guys running around on that defense. So we were definitely aware of Leonard, but we're still trying to figure it out. I wish I would have known more, because he causes a fumble on the 2-yard line that would have made it a 1-score game on our quarterback. I probably should have been more aware of him, quite honestly.
Did you know what you had in him coming here?
Well, we studied, obviously, and then you get into year 2, and you have some games, crossover games, where we might be getting ready to play Cal or somebody, and SC was playing them before, and you see him on tape, and wow, this guy is uniquely special. And then when you get here, you start studying the film of your roster and trying to figure out what you're working with, and you start meeting with the kids, and then you start seeing them in off-season conditioning, and it all just kind of ramped up to this guy's a uniquely special player, and he loves football. He loves his teammates. He loves USC, and he shows it every day. He takes the field with a purpose to practice and to get better.
When you see the success of guys like Mariota, Scooby Wright, 2 more or less unheralded guys, and they come in here and have the success that they've had, what does that speak to just the guess, wackiness of recruiting?
Well, it's hard. I mean, it tells you there's a lot of players, and a lot of players on the West Coast. You know, you look at, you know, Haoli Kikaha at the University of Washington, a kid who I think maybe was a 2-star that we took from Kahuku, you know, from Laia, Hawaii, and ends up, I think, leading the country in sacks this year. And so there's no science. As much as we try to make it into a science and we try to look at height, weight, speed, body language, competitiveness, demeanor, character, work ethic, you know, grades, transcripts, all those things. Sometimes there's just no science. Sometimes it's fit in the right system. Sometimes it's a kid just maturing, growing. So it's hard, and you try to get it right, and you try to get a locker room full of really competitive people with good balance. I don't think it's always taking every 5-star you can get your hands on. I think there's something to be said about a 2 or 3-star who comes in with a chip on his shoulder and has something to prove as well. So I think there's a real fine line and real balance there that needs to be taken into account.
Your player up at Washington, he's a lot finalist tonight. Was there, in terms of chip on the shoulder or whatnot, what struck you in the recruiting process to take I guess a flyer on a guy?
Well, I love the way he played. He played every snap like it literally was his last. I mean, his effort was amazing, and at the time in our program, that was something we were trying to build upon. We're trying to build on kids that were playing with amazing effort, and we went after a few of those guys in that class, and Haoli really ended up working out that way. And so, you know, we were fortunate for the years we had him, and I'm sure Coach Pete's fortunate to have him this year as well.
What does Delvon Simmons do well for you guys?
Well, he's long, he's big. Delvon is a guy that can really hold the point, hold the gap that he's responsible for. He's so big and long, a lot of times he can absorb 2 blockers and free up a linebacker to go make that play. Delvon's really the body type. When you look at Leonard, Delvon, Claude, those are the body types we're really looking forward to in recruiting, of trying to find for our interior defensive linemen, because it makes the edge players, the Suas of the world, and the inside backers, the Hayes and Anthony's of the world, job a lot easier, because if you try to single block them, they're going to defeat those single blocks and make the play. So they force double teams, and that should free up those other guys to go make plays.
We saw a little more of Lamar today.
Yep.
Have you ever thought of where he's going next year, or how you use him?
We're hopeful we get him back full steam, ready to go, and so we're trying to get some stuff out of him here, you know, over the next couple weeks to give him a sense of confidence heading into the off season. I think he really needs a good off-season conditioning program. He literally missed the entire one last year because of the knee injury. I think for his benefit, he needs a great off-season conditioning program. He needs a highly competitive spring practice to get his competitive juices back flowing again, so that when August rolls around, he's in a good frame of mind and a confident frame of mind that he can get back to being the player that he was.
Speaking of the linebackers, it looked like Olajuwon was playing outside a little bit today. Are you kind of
a little bit?
figuring
Well,
it
that
out
was
with
when
him?
Uchenna went down,
Oh,
so
okay.
we had to shuffle our younger guys around a little bit. But you know, Olajuwon's got some versatility. It was probably good for him that he got a chance to show off some of that on the perimeter today.
Okay, so with young guys like Juju and Adoree, for a true freshman, what's kind of, I think, maybe a intangible that like allows him to be an impact player aside from talent?
I think competitiveness, you know, a belief in themselves, but competitiveness. And that's not just when they take the field, it's competing to be prepared when they get here. You know, it's really studying the playbook. It's the summer workouts when the coaches can't be here and they're with the veteran players, really trying to learn, trying to get better. When you get to training camp, you know, not sitting up in this dorm playing video games, but studying the install for the next day and coming out with a purpose. That's where the competitiveness begins, and then it carries over to the field. And I think a lot of our younger players that are playing for us right now really possess that characteristic. You think about Toa, Vianney, Juju, Adoree, John Plattenberg. Those guys are very similar personalities that way. They're really cerebral guys. They study the game, but they're also confident in themselves that if they know what they're doing, they're going to play good football.
Okay. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.